So I'm on Cameo, and it's a website, or it's also an app where you can book me for personalized video greetings, which is a lot of fun. And I'm here to wish you happy birthday, happy anniversary. I'm happy to say a Wattson line. I love one of my favorite Wattson lines, especially in this crazy time, is "My light shines bright." I love that.
That was so good.
Speaking of which, I actually have a guest question by one of the top Apex players. His name is Nice Wig. He's a big streamer. He's in CLG. He actually wanted to ask you, if you could change Wattson's name, what would you make it? And I know this is on the spot, so it's going to be kind of hard for you
to
think of something.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another SquadCast podcast. This is episode number 15 that we have. This time we have a special guest that was teased in the last episode, none other than Justine Huxley, the voice of Wattson, which you guys know and love. She is a really big part of the ranked meta right now for esports, and also just a lot of people's favorite characters. So we have a lot of questions that we're going to ask her regarding Respawn, regarding Apex Legends, the state of the game, and just things that she's done in the past when she first tested the game, and her opinion on the game, and kind of her thoughts of when she first started to do Apex Legends and where it's gone and where it's taken her now with not only Apex Legends but voice acting. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to start off with Seth. Seth, go ahead and let's kind of introduce our guest and also talk about the very first question that you have with Justine and her first day testing Apex and when she first entered into the game as a voice actor.
Well, basically, Justine Huxley, you did a pretty good job of introducing her. I'm not sure I could do much better, but my first question, really the thing that we talked to Chris Edgerly, obviously you know him, the voice of Pathfinder, and the thing I really was interested in was like when you first found out you would be voicing Wattson, like what did you think? Did you really know much about battle royales before or anything like that?
Sure. Hi, first of all. Bonjour, everyone. I had no idea what this game was because everything, as you know, well, at least every game that I've ever done has been under a code name. So when you get the audition for a game, usually it's a totally different name than what the actual game is going to be. So I can't even remember the code name at this point, but there's all these code names. My character had a code name. I think everybody's character had a code name, but I really had no idea because it hadn't been talked about yet. The game wasn't out when I booked it. The game wasn't out. So I knew that there had been some other voice actors like Chris. I mean, I didn't know Chris at the time, but I knew Chris was doing it and Roger Craig Smith. And I'm actually friends with Allegra Clark. So when I heard that she was doing it, I was thinking, wow, then this must be a great game because she's so talented. So I knew that she had done it because I had talked to the writers and they gave me a little of the cast, but I really had no idea what this was going to be. I had no clue that it was going to be this huge, massive fan following game that just has taken the world by storm.
Yeah, totally. I mean, honestly, it was kind of surprising, at least for me, and I'm sure it was for you, really, when the game first came out. It was like, I mean, obviously you just said all that stuff, like they kept it really secretive, which is honestly surprising for me. I don't know anything about like the behind the scenes and stuff like that, but they just literally one of the biggest game companies, EA, they just have this huge game, and Respawn, they're making it, great developing company, and they just dropped it out of the blue. They didn't do anything, and it was just a huge hit. So I was absolutely amazingly hyped. So when you first saw the success, were you like surprised, or what did you think about that?
Yeah, well, I didn't know exactly when it was supposed to come out. I knew that I was not going to be in the first 8 characters because they had recorded months and months before I did. So I knew I wasn't going to be coming out for months down the road. But when I saw how huge it was, I was thinking, wow, this is going to be big.
Yeah.
And I could not wait until Wattson came into the game. I was so excited.
That's really, really cool because a lot of people, for us, you know, I've always say this in pretty much every podcast, I bring it up at least once, because a lot of people take an Apex, they'll take a legend that we call it like you main that legend, it just basically means that you play that legend pretty much every game that you can. And we take that legend and you kind of get attached to that legend's personality. So people that play Wattson, there's kind of roles in Apex, just like other games. There's like certain specific roles that each player is, has kind of perfected. And so every pro team pretty much will take one legend and they will master that legend. And so they kind of grow towards that, that's my legend. That's, that personality, that's the one I play. That's the one I go with. So they kind of get close to that. So it's really cool because I guess the voice actors don't realize this sometimes because you guys are not as involved in the game as we think you would be. And so,
right.
Yeah, because I just assumed they all play the game consistently. They all love the game, but a lot of you don't even know much about the game, which is just kind of crazy because we just don't assume that sometimes. So it's crazy to think that your voice is the one behind thousands and thousands and thousands of players' favorite character in the game. Is that
literally millions? I mean, what was it, 50 million people in the first few months?
I think they actually just reached 70 million.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. A couple months ago. Yeah, they released a video on it on YouTube. So yeah, it's definitely millions and millions and millions. So is that something that ever crosses your mind that people think about your voice and in the game that they love on a daily basis, or are you just kind of like, record it and don't, just kind of go on my merry way?
When I first was recording, I just thought, this is awesome. Another gig, another game. I'm so excited to be working, as a voice actor. You never know what's going to happen. You could be super busy one week with a lot of sessions, and then the next week you've got nothing. And it's just back to auditioning. So I was just grateful to be doing anything. I think, all of us voice actors are just, so grateful that this is a job that we love so much and that we get to do what we love for a living. So I was super excited to be doing a character that was pretty new to me. I've never done a super scientific electrical character before. And I was excited to be putting my French accent skills to the test and use some of my old French class words. So I was really excited, but I really had no idea that this was going to be such a fan.
Is that really what your experience is with French? Is it like high school French, or how far?
I went in middle school. I did 2 years of French, and then in high school I did 3 years of French. So I've done 5 years of French classes. And then I've been to France twice. I went with my parents when I was a kid. I think I was around 9. My dad had a business trip to London. So we ended up going to Paris afterwards, and it was incredible. And then when I was 13, I went with my 8th grade French class, which was a lot of fun. And we toured all over the south of France, and we also went to Paris. And it was
They don't even offer those kind of classes at my school, so that's that's just crazy. Like just to think that someone has. I always practice accents, when no one's home and I'm by myself and I, washing dishes and I just kind of entertain myself, which is really odd and creepy, I guess, because a lot.
No, I love it. I practice accents all the time.
I practice my British accent and my Spanish accent that I have no idea how to speak any of.
Give it a go, Miles. Let's hear it.
No.
I put you on the spot.
But it's just crazy to think that like some people and I always think how cool it would be to be able to really make someone believe that I know how to do that. And so like when I before I ever met you, before I ever knew who you were, what you did, I just thought that the Wattson voice actor was probably French. Like that's just what I thought because the accent was played so well. So the fact that you can pull that off, man, it's really impressive.
Thanks so much. Well, it's thanks to my accent and dialect teachers. I also went to a performing arts high school, so I've had a lot of accent and dialect lessons and classes. I had 3 years in high school of accent dialect training, and then I had 4 years of accent and dialect and voice and speech classes in college because I went to a performing arts college as well. So that really, really helped. And my accent dialect teacher in college, turned out she left teaching, and now she does accent and dialect coaching for major films and television. And I think she's done accent and dialect work with Julianne Moore a lot, and Liev Schreiber. So she's really incredible. She's one of my favorite teachers.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What are some of the other games that people might know you from? Because I assume if you got Apex Legends, they probably knew your voice from other games. Is that how you came up, or do you know how you came up? Like, because I believe Chris, he made it sort of sound like they reached out for him for Pathfinder. Was it the same with you, or how did that work?
I don't think it was, because I haven't done that many games. I've mostly done animation and commercials. So I think that it was probably just based on my audition.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm sure that a lot of us, I mean, I actually don't know. It might have been that people were requested. I wasn't. It was just a typical audition. I audition from home most of the time. Probably most of the voice actors also audition from home. And I didn't think anything of it. I get a bunch of auditions every day. This was just another audition. I try and forget about my auditions as soon as I send them off to my agent, because if I remember and if I think about it, then I'll just feel bad if I don't get it. So it's such a nice surprise when I do get something.
It's a numbers game.
Right. It's a numbers game. Sometimes my agent will call or email and say, do you remember this audition that you did about a month ago or, a few weeks ago? You booked it. And I'm like, I have no idea what that was. I have to go back into my emails and my recordings and see, and I think, oh, okay, that's it. But yeah, it's good. I think a lot of my friends who are voice actors try to do the same so that we don't, it's a tough business. And most of the time you are auditioning more than you're booking. So when you do book something, it's such a pleasant surprise.
And was it only Wattson that you applied for, or did you try out for other?
No, I only auditioned for Wattson.
Oh, that's interesting. Is it because of the French part of it? Is that why you were drawn to that character?
I think, that's the only character that I received an audition for, but my agents know that I do a lot of accents. Okay. And so usually they'll send me most auditions in my age voice range that I'm right for that has an accent, because they know that I can do it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so what has it been like working with Respawn? Like, what is their office like? Give us some insight.
I love them.
What is it? I know you record remotely a lot, but what was it like when you would go to the studio and you're with?
Sure. So we record not at the Respawn office. We record at a different studio in Burbank, California. And that's incredible because it's a huge studio and it's so professional and it's very exciting to have. There's usually about 5 of them there in the studio when we record. It's some sound people, our voice director, Eric, some of our writers, usually Tom and Ashley are there. Sometimes Manny has been there as well. They're just incredible. But the studio, we've taken 2 tours. I've taken 2 tours now of the studio, which is at a different location. And we have met, I think there's at least 200 people working on Apex of the devs. And it's so exciting to meet them. When I first went, I went with Mela, who plays Lifeline, and Johnny, who plays Crypto, and Nicholas, who plays Octane. Mm-hmm. And the 4 of us went and took a little tour, and it was so exciting because I think most of the devs didn't know that we were coming. So they had met Mela before, but they had never met Johnny, Nick, and myself. And so it was very exciting to meet them because we were totally fanning out over each other, and it was so exciting. They were showing us all this new art that I can't talk about, but it was super cool. Yeah. All these skins and just seeing all of the artists in all their different work environments was amazing. There's a huge art wall where some of the devs will draw different funny pictures or sketches of the different legends. Like there was one where one of the devs drew a Wattson that was like totally jacked up and super muscular, and it was smoke coming out of her face. It was very funny. They're hilarious. All of them are so awesome and fun and really welcoming. And Yeah, it's been so great. Also working with Vince, who's the head of the studio. He's been amazing, so generous. They gave us all this incredible swag the last time we came. So yeah, it's been really fun. We did a big signing the last time we went, and then we got to play test, which was amazing. They do a play test every day, usually in the afternoon. So so they asked the voice actors if any of us. Some of them were a little hesitant because they'd never played before, or they're not so good. I am definitely not very good at Apex at all. I need a lot of coaching, but luckily there were about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 devs behind me coaching me the whole way through, and I happened to win as Wattson, so that was very exciting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Dang.
I mean, I was playing against some of the devs, so I think they may have let me win a little bit.
Nobody will ever know.
No one will ever know. And they said that I won. So I'm just going to take that win and go with it.
So whenever you go into the studio, like you said that, they were there, the first 8 were there recording before you were, because Wattson had not come out until a later time. Whenever you went into the studio to record the first time, did you feel like, the new girl starting a new job, or, all those nerves kind of kicking in, or have you kind of got past that in your career since you've been doing it for a little while?
I think I'm always nervous, like a little bit nervous starting a new job, because you don't know who to expect. You don't know what to expect. You don't know who's going to be there. I know that a lot of the other voice actors had callbacks. Funny enough, I didn't have a callback, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
They just booked me off my initial home audition. So I never met anyone in person. So I really didn't know what people would be like. And you just never know if there's going to be egos involved. You never know how nice people are going to be, how good of a director somebody is going to be. But everyone was so welcoming and so sweet to me when I came in. They were just really down to earth. And, you wouldn't necessarily think that for this big of a game. You think, oh, maybe there's, a ton of ego involved and they're just, too hot to trot. But everyone was so nice, and they made me really feel at home, and they were really cool with me taking liberties, and also, sometimes the French accent is hard, and especially when there's words together that kind of blend together or that are hard to pronounce. They really let me take my time, made sure I got it right. I would sometimes check Google Voice or, some kind of pronunciation app to make sure I was doing it right. So they really gave me the time, and they gave me the space to make sure that I felt good about what I was doing, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, that's really good. That sounds like Respawn and EA are being a really quality company to work with.
Yeah, they
that's
really
nice
are.
to hear.
Yeah,
that's really cool. So I had one quick question I wanted to ask for people who are interested in your voice acting career. What actually got you into voice acting? Like, was there something in the beginning? Was there a specific point you remember?
Yeah, so I have been doing theater since I was a kid, and I went to college as an actor in the acting conservatory at SUNY Purchase, and I have always loved theater, musical theater. I used to do on-camera commercials when I was a kid. I had graduated college. I had done a musical, a national tour of a musical in New York, and we traveled to 14 different states. And when I decided, after about a year of living in New York after college, I decided to move back to LA and take a little time and figure out what I wanted to do next. One of my cousins is a professional voice actor in LA. He used to be the voice of MSNBC and Carl's Jr. and a lot of commercials, a lot of promos, some video games, but a lot of promos. And he said to me, you've got this great voice. You can sing, which is great for animation. I'm a huge singer. And you've got this theater training. You have all this acting training. Why don't you take some classes? And I would be happy to introduce you to my agent when you've made a commercial demo and when you feel like you're more ready to do voiceover. So that was kind of the catalyst. And I really didn't think I was going to stay in LA for that long. I thought I was going to move back to New York. I'm from LA. So I was super happy to be with my family in LA, but I thought, I'm going to go back to New York and do theater because that's where theater is. And I just loved voiceover so much. And I loved the sunshine of LA. I loved being with so many of my friends and family that I just stayed. And I've been doing voiceover in LA for about 10 years.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's long, yeah.
Yeah, so I mostly started out doing commercials for the first couple years, and then I started getting more into animation, video games, promos. I also do the voice. I'm the voice of the TNT daytime promos for the TNT network, so that's been really great. I do that recording from home, which is awesome.
Nice.
That's what's so nice is I always imagine that, you know, whenever it's time for you to go do a gig, that means you have to get up and travel to wherever the location is. But the fact that you can do a lot of this in the convenience of your home, in your own home, makes it, number one, it makes it more comfortable, so you probably enjoy it more at times where you can just wake up and, you know, not be so stressed about being in an environment with a lot of people. I get really nervous and I have really bad anxiety about being around a lot of people where I feel like I have to perform at a certain level. So it must, I know it's got to be nice to be able, number one, like I said, to be able to be in your home and be comfortable, but also, you know, think of it in a time like this when you have this big pandemic going around the world, where you can still, you know, be in your own home and still do voiceovers while, you know, not having to go outside and break whatever California's under with the whole virus thing. So I know that's got to be very convenient at times to be able to do it in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so lucky for that, because I know a lot of my friends that do on-camera acting and theater acting, their shows have been canceled or postponed. So it's definitely been really hard, but I am really lucky. I do have a home studio, and yeah, it's great. I do miss going out to the studios. Most video games and animation, they really like you to be there and work with them. And also dubbing, they want you to be there because it's they record to picture, and you record beeps, they call it, and you look at the voice flaps and you see, you know, how they're talking, and then you try and put your voice into their mouths. So that helps being there in person, but we're, you know, it's a learning curve. We're all learning and trying to make do, working all the time, and it's definitely been a positive being able to do this from home.
Have you had to use the motion capture for any Apex?
I haven't. No, that it's so cool. I saw that Johnny and Roger Craig Smith did some motion capture, which was awesome. But no, actually, one of our animators, Moy, his niece did motion capture for Wattson. She's not even an actress, but they just loved the way she moved so much. They had her come in and do it. And I think they had her do it before I was even cast as the voice actor. And she is so great. Yeah, she was just perfect for it. I think all of Wattson's movements have been incredible and so in character, so cute. I love her little clapping. It's awesome.
I love the way she runs with the gun in her hand.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
It fits perfectly for
totally.
That's something too that I think about when I see, because I never thought, like, I never think of things like that. When I see the little animation of Wattson clapping her hands, I just think, oh, it's all computerized. They just tell Wattson, you know, the model of Wattson to put, you know, to clap like this. But to see them actually do the animations, I saw one where it's been months ago since this happened. I saw one where they were actually doing the animation of Lifeline getting selected as the character, and I would see them sitting on a table and then doing the exact animation. I was just like, oh wow, wonder why they're doing that when it's all computerized. And like, it was identical to the way Lifeline does it. I'm like, wow, I'm such an idiot. Like, this is how they do, this is how they do things. Like, that's so genius to make it look a lot more natural. The movements look more natural. So it's cool that that they have like it's cool, like you said, though, that they have a niece that this could potentially, you know, be their breakthrough of something that they might potentially enjoy and have a job, you know, for months and years to come, that they really enjoyed doing things like this. And that's what I always tell people is always chase what you love to do. Don't ever settle for just something because it gives money. Like, I can tell that you have a passion for voice acting, and that's what people, I feel like, forget a lot of times is to they might be embarrassed of, oh, who's gonna laugh at me when I don't get the job or I don't get the gig. Like, who cares about all of that? Like, chase what you love so that you can be happy in your everyday life to wake up to a job that you just really love.
Totally. I totally agree with that.
That definitely is the dream. Yeah. Honestly, probably one of the reasons that is one of the reasons I've started YouTube, and that so far, thank the Lord, we're doing great.
Yeah.
So far.
Who's your main?
Oh, this is a good one.
That's a tough question.
Yeah, everyone go through and tell me your main.
So I hate to inform you, but my main is actually Pathfinder.
Don't hate to inform me. I'm good friends with Chris. I love Chris. I totally get it. He's hilarious. His quips are amazing, and he's got great abilities. Do not take it personally.
I have the most.
He's really talented.
I have the most kills by far, over double with Lifeline, but that was when I was grinding like 8 hours a day playing this game.
Wow.
So it was crazy. But since I've stopped playing Lifeline back in season 1, I've just been using Pathfinder and occasionally Wattson, occasionally Wraith, but mostly just Pathfinder. So Pathfinder for me.
All right, I'll go next. This is kind of a tough one. Similar to Miles, I started off with Lifeline for, if you didn't know, one of her abilities is faster healing, which is just, they're super handy all the time, because I'm taking a lot of damage. So I can heal up real quick. But ever since then, I switched over to Pathfinder like Miles. But lately with Ranked, I've kind of found myself with Gibraltar a lot more, which is somebody I never thought I would ever come to say is one of my top characters or one of my mains, just because if you didn't know, Gibraltar was originally
the worst.
Pretty much the worst character in the game, and it was kind of a meme.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and they've just buffed Gibraltar so much, they've kept adding new abilities and stuff like that, to the point where he's actually pretty good in Ranked. So I definitely have to go with Gibraltar right now.
Yeah. I'm gonna say Bloodhound, just because of the most time that I spent on a character's got to be Bloodhound, no doubt.
Yeah, and for me, I think you can tell by my profile picture, Mirage, and I just love Roger. He's so funny, he's so witty. You see his Twitter posts every day. He's just a hilarious guy, and so I kind of relate to him as a person through the character, and it's just. Mirage is awesome. His clips are amazing, but when it comes down to when playing Ranked, I'll usually either do Wraith or Wattson. That's because there's only a few characters that you can actually play in Ranked, because it's a very high level team play, and Mirage is not a good team player, whereas Wattson and Gibraltar, they are defensive characters that you need in the ranked levels, so you have to actually really think about your lineup rather than just picking who your favorite is when it comes to ranked.
Exactly.
That's really cool that so many people are picking Wattson in Ranked. I'm so happy.
If you want me to be completely honest with you, I don't think that there is a single top pro team that. There might be one or two, maybe one or two, but more than likely, there's no pro team that's in the top 20 of pro teams that do not use Wattson. They pretty much all use Wattson. It's either Pathfinder, Wraith, and Wattson, or either Wattson, Gibraltar, and Wraith. So pretty much everyone uses Wattson. I actually have a friend that I used to play competitive with that mains Wattson, and he actually qualified for the major in Texas before it got canceled, unfortunately. But so I have to tell him that that I actually got the pleasure of speaking with you, because that'll be something that he probably has never thought about, the fact that these are not just people who have a voice behind the game that just kind of go unnoticed. These people are real people who take the time to record every single one of these lines to make them real to the game, and that's just, it's still remarkable to think about. But yeah, most people use Wattson in Ranked, and she's just such a good legend for the game.
And actually,
so cool. I'm so happy to hear that.
Speaking of which, I actually have a guest question by one of the top Apex players. His name is Nice Wig. He's a big streamer. He's in CLG, and he is actually a pro player. And if you ever watch, you'll see him playing in all the top tournaments. He's super good controller player, but he plays Wattson quite a bit. He was actually maining Wattson for this last season. And he actually wanted to ask you, if you could change Wattson's name, what would you make it? And I know this is on the spot, so it's going to be kind of hard for you to think of something, but just think of her character.
How did you change her name?
I know. Nice Wig, what are you doing to her?
The only name I can think of off the top of my head would be something like electric, like Electra, or something, something electric.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And then speaking of which, and thank you, Nice Wig, for that question. And Nice Wig is an amazing guy, so thank you so much for doing that.
Thanks, Wig.
Yes. And speaking of, did you get all the backstory on Wattson prior to the character, or do you know a lot of her backstory prior to voicing the character, or after? Or how did that work?
Yeah, during recording, I would find out more and more about Wattson, which was so cool. Especially, I don't know if you saw when Wattson was launched, the animatic with her father. Did you see that one?
Oh yeah, that was absolutely amazing.
It was so cool. So I got to find out a lot more about Wattson recording that, and I probably ask the most questions of any voice actor. I constantly am asking a million questions to the devs and the writers, because I'm so curious about everybody's backstories. That's my favorite part, is the lore. I think the lore for this game is so well done. The writers are so great. They really have very fleshed out backstories for every character. I loved the Wraith backstory, and the Crypto animatic, the animation for him came out. I just think they do such a great job with that.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. Like, that's one of the things about Apex that's separated it from so many other games, like, that are very similar. Obviously, there's some different aspects as to gameplay, but one of the things that I've noticed really about Apex and that has drawn me towards the game, and a lot of people probably could relate to this. Obviously, I hope you would know this, but if you didn't know, Apex Legends is in the Titanfall universe, which is a previous game. And I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, okay, there we go. I got it back. The lore, they always had a ton of lore and backstory to Titanfall, obviously, since the campaign was a huge part of the game. And then they brought that over into Apex and really continued on with the lore, which I think is honestly one of the best parts of Apex Legends in general, like you said. And I also think something I've been saying for literally months now, since the beginning of the game, ever since they really released those cinematic animations and trailers, they were so good. I've always thought that it would be cool to see like a little anime, like a short episode, 8
that would be awesome.
Series. Yeah. Like maybe even one on each character. I'd love to see that type of thing, because I mean, I'm sure you've done a lot of anime, like voice acting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I would
love that.
Now, Chris was actually talking about it today when he was interviewing
Manny. I haven't seen the interview yet. I've got to see that.
Yeah, Manny is a funny character, but while he was interviewing him, he was like, "Oh, I pitched to Vince how we should do live action animation of all the characters and all." So he's definitely down for the idea if it ever comes up.
I think all of us voice actors would be totally into that as well. I know I would.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with, there's a YouTube channel called Tooncraft, and I think the owner of the YouTube channel actually works at Respawn as an animator.
Yeah, that's Moy. Yeah, and he's awesome. His Apex tunes are so funny and so cute.
So
I love them.
I'm assuming since you know that, you've watched them, and there's been this big, like, in all of my Twitch chat and everything, there's just been this huge kind of like a constant talk and conversation about this love, like this little the two lovebirds of Wattson and Octane. And I don't know if you've seen the animation.
Yeah, I saw the one where they were making s'mores, right?
Yes, exactly.
So cute. I loved that.
And that's something that I feel like with the lore, Apex has a lot of things kind of prefigured. Like, here's how the storyline of Apex, of why they're playing at this map, why they're moving to this map, or why Mirage makes this voice line and things like that. So that's really cool. But then also on top of that, like, not just an animated series to give us the lore of the game, but like like an animated series as well that kind of just goes on like a TV show. Like, you can always just come up with new ideas, like the fact that Wattson and Octane are a thing, and then you can play a duos as Wattson and Octane. As them playing in duos, they get like what if Wattson and Octane actually fall in love in the game, and then they have like a team badge, and then they can start playing and making abilities that are according to their own abilities, because they are the Apex Legends official couple. That would be so cool. That would be my favorite.
I love it. I've seen Wattson being shipped with almost every character except for Caustic, so keep going. It's
Caustic
so funny. All the fan art is so
Caustic is such a very I love his voice lines, and I think his voice lines and as well as Pathfinder's make the trailers so entertaining, because Caustic can just say something that's so dark and it's just like, wow, like what a man. Like it's just like he actually just said that. Like,
and it's so funny because JB Blanc, who voices Caustic, and Darren DePaul, who voices Revenant, are probably two of the nicest, funniest guys. Yeah. They are so unlike their characters. I mean, very, funny and has a lot of sarcasm but so he has that, the sarcastic and wittiness of Caustic, but he's such a nice guy. He's so unlike Caustic in that way that it's funny, when I actually met him, and when I actually met Darren DePaul, Darren came out with a bunch of us voice actors to do karaoke, and we just had a blast. He's hilarious.
And when speaking of which, do you have stuff that you relate to Wattson? Because I think for some reason, I don't know, Wattson is just a very bubbly person in the game, and she's like a brighter person in the game. She's very positive and she's super adorable with all the voice lines and her movement and everything. How much of that is you?
I think that Tom, one of our writers, would say that the bubbliness is very much me.
You could tell.
Yeah, thanks. It was funny. I listened to another interview that Roger Craig Smith was doing, and they asked who of the voice actors is most like their legend, and he said me, which is funny. I am not scientifically inclined to be, electrically savvy like Wattson is. She is so smart with all of her electrical puns. I've definitely been getting into the electrical puns. I keep thinking of new ones on my own because they're just so good.
They are.
But yeah, it's fun to be this scientist character because my boyfriend is actually a scientist, not an electrical scientist. He is a researcher and researches a lot on climate change and geography. He's also a geographer. So it's really cool for me that I get to do something that is sort of related to what he does also, which he's not an actor at all. He's this scientist. So it's really cool for me.
So has your boyfriend ever played Apex at all?
He hasn't, but he's watched some of the YouTube videos, and he loves watching. He's not a great battle royale player. So yeah.
And so I assume obviously you can speak science with him now since you've played Wattson. And easy. And I was going to ask you too, we have a lot of young viewers who might be in a state of trying to figure out what they want to become when they grow up. And I was just wondering if you had just any insight or advice to anyone who wants to become a voice actor.
Sure. Well, first of all, do you know there's a website called iwannabeavoiceactor.com.
Oh wow.
It is so fantastic. It is a website that has so many things like starting from zero, voiceover myths, learning to act. I'm on it right now. It's actually my friend D. Bradley Baker's website. He's an incredible voiceover actor in probably hundreds of and thousands of animated shows and video games as well. He does incredible creature voices, and he's just so talented. And he has made this free website for anyone that is interested in getting into voiceovers. And so I highly, highly recommend iwantobeavoiceactor.com for anyone that's looking into it, because I even look at it when I have a callback sometimes, just to go over some of the basics that sometimes you forget when you're doing something for a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. It sounds like the exact perfect thing for literally anybody out there. Go check that out. That's
we'll definitely have to link
and for anyone that's just starting out, take classes, take improvisation. Improv helps so much with everything voiceover related, commercials, video games. Take accent and dialect lessons. I can't tell you how many times I've booked roles that are totally different from my regular LA Valley girl accent. So take singing lessons, because even if you're not a singer, you learn breath control and you learn projection. And for me, I think the musicality of singing, there's so much musicality in voiceover, animation, video games. Sometimes it's great to learn rhythms. So that helps as well.
And one thing I wanted to let people know about with you before we go is your Cameo, right? Did you just get on?
I just got on Cameo. Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to tell them the link, and we'll also link that down below if you want to tell them like things that you do on that. Or
sure. So I'm on Cameo, and it's a website, or it's also an app where you can book me for personalized video greetings, which is a lot of fun. And I'm here to wish you happy birthday, happy anniversary, or it's www.cameo.com/Justine Huxley, my name, or you can just search for my name on the website.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool.
We'll make sure to link
And-
that in the top of the description for everybody. Make sure to go check that out, as well as your Twitter
I've been
and all your
doing
other
a
social
lot of,
medias and stuff.
A lot of Wattson shout outs, so that's
Okay, I was gonna say. So you do Watson's voice, correct?
I do,
I was
people are
gonna
gonna
ask.
love.
I was gonna ask if you
They
could
love
make
that,
if you could make like an alarm for me to go to work and just like tell me in the Watson's voice that I need to get up. It's time to get to work or something. That would be much more motivating than hearing a screaming rooster in my phone just to make sure I'm awake. I'd much rather wake up and be happy to go to work after Watson encouraging me to get up and go make a living.
Totally.
Well, Justine, thanks so much for catching up with us and being able to talk and give us 40 minutes of your time on the SquadCast podcast. And thank you, Nicewig, once again for the question that we had. Really interesting to see a lot of this stuff from the background of a voice actor. A lot of things that come up that a lot of you guys that play Apex probably have never thought of before. The things that these voice actors go through and how we have come to the point now where we're able to know and love these voice actors and care about what their voice sounds like. I mean, could you imagine Wattson being taken out of the game and a new voice actor for Wattson? It would never be the same. People wouldn't love it. People want the original Justine Huxley. So it's really nice to get to know these people on a personal level. So thank you so much for giving us your time once again.
Yes, and thank you so much.
Any last words you would like to say?
I'm happy to say a Wattson line. I love one of my favorite Wattson lines, especially in this crazy time, is "My light shines bright." I love that.
Oh, that was
so good, dude. I just love it. Like,
Jeez.
it's so crazy because I'm expecting an impersonation of someone who can do it good, but no, it's like spot on. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that's genuinely so weird. I literally honestly, I kind of got chills there.
It's crazy.
What a great way to end it off. Jeez.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was good. But thank you guys so much for watching the SquadCast podcast. And once again, thank you, Justine Huxley, for joining us. And we're going to be signing off for now. We will see you guys in the next podcast. Make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video if you did enjoy, and subscribe to the SquadCast channel to make sure you don't miss another episode. And also, once again, thanks to Nicewig for the question that we had. And make sure if you want a question on the next podcast to comment down below with the hashtag question, and we'll make sure to give you a shout out and answer your question on the next podcast. And until next time, we will see you later. Signing off for now. Bye guys. See ya. Peace out. Everyone say goodbye. Peace.
Bye. Au revoir.